In this video, I'll explain a Korean drama romance film called Are We in Love? The film begins by showing a young girl named Yoon-jae hurrying back home in her bicycle. When she gets home, her mother's caregiver complains about her mother making a mess in the house because she wants to make bread. When she returns to the workplace, it gets pretty late. Her boss, Jimin, lash out at her for neglecting her responsibilities at work and for running back home as she please. He orders her to clean the cafe by herself and for her colleagues, Pyeon and Dong-soo, to leave immediately.
배울 생각이 있는 거야, 없는 거야?
After Jimin left, Pyeon and Dong-soo helps her out with the cleaning. When they get to clean the kitchen, they find Jimin has already cleaned the place. Yoon-jae stays behind to prepare the ingredients for the next day as Pyeon and Dong-soo leave. While she's alone, she hears a sudden thundering and a woman comes into the cafe.
죄송하지만
The woman is drenched up, but Yoon-jae notes it's not raining outside. She asks permission to stay until the rain stops. Because Yoon-jae will be staying in the cafe anyway, she let the woman stay. Yoon-jae offers her some food and leaves off to work. By the time she returns, the woman has left, leaving behind a book with a note saying she's lending it to help her out. The book is titled Are You in Love? Inside it is written that the book will answer any questions regarding love. So Yoon-jae places her hand on top of the book and asks if she'd ever fall in love. When she flips the pages, she reads, soon many people will ask her out. She scoffs at the book, thinking it gives some random answers. Jimin, who has returned to the cafe to get something he left behind, finds Yoon-jae smirking at the book and lash out at her for using the cafe's electric bill to read.
사방에 불은 다 켜놓고 말이야.
When she gets ready to go home in her bike, Jimin offers to take her home in a harsh tone, saying he can't afford to pay workers' compensation if she gets into an accident. After reaching her neighborhood, Jimin takes out her bike and quickly leaves before she could thank him.
감사합니다.
A man comes to her and introduces himself as their neighbor. He gives her his business card and asks her if she has a boyfriend. She quickly leaves, saying she has someone whom she's interested in. When she gets home, her mother's caregiver asks if she could quit because her mother is giving her a hard time. Yoon-jae begs her to reconsider, so the caregiver agrees to work, saying she can't quit even if she wants to because she feels sorry for Yoon-jae. The next day, while waiting for the signal lights to cross the road, a man approached Yoon-jae and asked for her phone number, saying he has fallen for her. In shock, she goes to the cafe. There she finds Yura, who Jimin's girlfriend, waiting for her because she loves to eat her banana cake. She advised Yoon-jae to dress more fancy if she wanted to attract men. Jimin comes to greet Yura, so Yoon-jae walks away uncomfortably. Pyeon finds Yoon-jae venting her anger on the floor. When he remarks about how frustrating she looks, Yoon-jae hands over the rolling pin to him to roll the dough until it's 15 mm thick. A customer gets to Yoon-jae and asks her out on a date. Even though Jimin pays attention, he doesn't show it. Pyeon and Dong-soo thinks that he is a scammer because Yoon-jae is not that attractive. Yoon-jae tries to point out that she's been getting many confessions lately, but neither of them believe her. Later, Jimin tries out the tart Yoon-jae has made to serve as a dessert to the customers. But after tasting it, he spits it out, saying it's bitter. Jimin gets angry at her for not focusing properly. He pulls out the business card the customer has left for her and tells her that she seems more focused on her dates than work. That night when Yoon-jae gets home, she pulls out the book again and asks if the confessions she received today are real. The book reveals it is, and also, when the darkness clears, the truth will reveal itself. Yoon-jae doesn't understand what it means. The next day, Yoon-jae makes another batch of tart. When she takes them to Jimin, she sees Jimin and Yura looking through old photos. Unsettled by it, Yoon-jae quickly walks away. When the team hang out that evening, Pyeon advised Yoon-jae to look more sexy and girly since that's what men are attracted to. But Yoon-jae argues he's wrong and that she's single because the person she likes already has a girlfriend. Another man walks to Yoon-jae and asks her out. Because she's drunk, she soon passes out after saying she has a person she likes.
탄다고요? 커피.
After a while, Dong-soo takes Kun home and Jimin drives Yoon-jae home. Yoon-jae briefly wakes up and grabs the photo of Jimin hanging on the car rear view mirror and clings onto it, saying she wants it. The next morning, she wakes up on the couch holding onto Jimin's photo. Her mother's caregiver tells her that she was carried home by her boss. Frustrated, Yoon-jae hurriedly gets ready for work. Before leaving, her mother's caregiver asks her to taste the cake her mother suddenly made the other day. She tries her mother's cake recipe at work, and to her delight, Jimin enjoys it and asks her to serve it to the customers. Yoon-jae is more enthusiastic after putting the cake on display. She even volunteers to take the delivered coffee beans to Jimin. She overhears Jimin and Yura fighting over Yura's sudden decision to go to the States to study. After work, to Yoon-jae's surprise, Jimin offers to give her a ride home. Yoon-jae straight away refuses, especially in remembering all the things she did while she was drunk. But Pyeon forced her to go with Jimin.
아니시면 마시고요.
Jimin puts her bike into the Jeep, and as they are about to leave, Yura walks past them and sits on the passenger seat. Jimin tries to drag her out. Yoon-jae interferes, saying they shouldn't fight because they are lovers after all. Before Jimin could say anything, Yoon-jae walks away. On her way home, Yoon-jae sees Jimin's Jeep parked in front of a bar. She's saddened to see him drinking with Yura. Yoon-jae tries opening up the Jeep to get her bike, but the alarm goes off, so Yoon-jae quickly walks off. The doorbell of Yoon-jae's house rings in the middle of the night. It's the drunken Jimin, and he has given her address to the driver. Because Jimin has no cash to make the payment, Yoon-jae ends up paying. Jimin asks her out to date him instead of the many men who has confessed to her. Yoon-jae is furious to hear this because he's asking her out only because Yura is leaving. Offended by him, Yoon-jae shuts the door and goes back in. The next morning, she finds her bike parked in front of her house. She notes some flyers inside her basket. She throws them to the trash bag before leaving for work. On her way, she sees the man who asked her out at the traffic light going after another woman. At work, she finds Dong-soo and Pyeon eating a limited edition cake she made. They have thought she has made it for them because they saw Jimin eating it. Furiously, Yoon-jae goes to see Jimin, but finds him eating a slice of cake with Yura. On seeing her, Yura asks for another slice, but Yoon-jae angrily refuses and leaves. Pyeon and Dong-soo blocks her way without letting her to the tables. She somehow managed to pass through them and sees the man who confessed to her at the cafe with another woman. After letting out her anger while baking, Yoon-jae leaves early from work because she has to take her mother to the hospital. Apparently, her mother's Alzheimer's condition doesn't seem to get any better. When she gets home, she finds the neighbor who confessed to her going through their trash. He lashes out at her for throwing away the flyer. The other person who left another flyer joins him, and together they force Yoon-jae to buy their products because she threw away their flyers. Jimin arrives to save her from them. They start to fight, and Yoon-jae quickly calls the police. After things settle, Jimin yells at Yoon-jae never to go home alone. When she asks him why he stopped by, Jimin brings up about the previous night. Yoon-jae is uncomfortable to talk about it, but to her disappointment, all Jimin wants to know is how much she paid for the driver. The next morning, Jimin is in front of Yoon-jae's house to take her to work because of the commotion the other day. Yoon-jae is surprised to see Jimin inviting her into the Jeep with a smile. At work, she realizes strange things starts to happen ever since she received the book. When she flips the page, it reads the person who loves her is right behind her. Just then, Jimin calls for her from behind. She runs off, distracting him, but leaves behind her book. Jimin looks through it, and it reads that he has already fallen in love. While making the dough, she tries to figure out what exactly is going on with Jimin, because she's occupied with many thoughts. A fire starts up. It goes out of control, and she calls out for help. Jimin tries taking out the fire. He ends up taken to the hospital by the ambulance. Yoon-jae decides to join him in the ambulance because she was the reason for the fire. While waiting for Jimin in the hospital, Yoon-jae thinks over all the phrases she read in the book. When he gets to her, she starts crying, thinking he is badly hurt. Jimin is delighted to see her worried about him. Yoon-jae is surprised to hear that his confession is real. They get interrupted by Yura, who runs to them to check on Jimin. She offers to drive them both to the cafe, but Yoon-jae stays behind, saying she needs some time alone. When she gets to the cafe, both Dong-soo and Pyeon run to her worryingly. They want to know if she and Jimin are okay. Yoon-jae is completely out of it and tells them that Jimin asked her out. Pyeon is not at all surprised because he already knew Jimin liked her. Yoon-jae gets confused because Jimin is dating Yura, and it's not right for him to have feelings for someone else. To her surprise, Pyeon tells her that Yura is not Jimin's lover but his twin sister. Because she's older than him only by a few minutes, he calls her by name.
네?
We then flash back to the night Jimin took Yoon-jae home. He has watched her sitting alone in the cafe and has driven off without saying anything because he was nervous to talk to her. Jimin sees the neighbor confessing to her. When he anxiously looks back, he finds Pyeon waking up from the back seat. He has witnessed all his drama. At home, she again refers to the book, and it reads that she should take some time. The next morning, Jimin waits anxiously for Yoon-jae. Just as she gets there, he wants to know whether she'd date her or not, but Yoon-jae wants more time to think about it, which leaves Jimin in frustration. The same happens the next day as well. When Yoon-jae is alone, Yura walks to her and tells her that Jimin gave up his offer as a lecturer in Japan because he didn't want to leave Yoon-jae. Later that day, Yura offers her an opportunity to learn more about desserts in Japan, as she has recommended her to the institute. Yoon-jae wants to take the offer but can't because of her mother. None of her colleagues know what her mother is suffering from, only that she's very ill. When she goes through the book to find an answer, the book doesn't give her one. One of the institute representatives arrive, and Jimin advises Yoon-jae to bring him some of the desserts she made. The representative is impressed by it and right away hands the acceptance letter. But Yoon-jae rejects the offer and walks out. Suddenly it thunders, and Yoon-jae remembers the night the woman gave her the book. She runs back to the cafe to find the book. On seeing her looking for it, Jimin tells her that an old lady came in and took it back, saying she just lent it. They get a worried call from Yoon-jae's home. Apparently her mother has gone missing, and she runs off to find her. She gets a call from the cafe and runs back to see her mother standing barefoot. Everyone is surprised to hear that the woman is Yoon-jae's mother.
엄마.
Yoon-jae sadly takes her mother home and refuses Jimin's offer to drive them. Yoon-jae remains gloomy for the next passing days. Because she's so occupied by her thoughts, one of the orders made by a customer gets ruined by her. The customer lashes out at the team and Jimin apologizes to him on Yoon-jae's behalf. She yells at him for defending her, so he drags her up to talk. She confessed that she has feelings for him and that's making her life more miserable. She can't bear to look at him because she doesn't want him to see her hopeless. Yoon-jae decides to resign, but Jimin strongly rejects and decides to go to Japan so she can work comfortably. While drinking with Pyeon, Jimin remembers the day Yoon-jae got drunk and snatched his photo. He has taken a photo of Yoon-jae holding onto the photo. A few days later, Yoon-jae watched from afar as Jimin leaves for Japan. 6 months later, Yoon-jae is still working in the cafe. Apparently, Jimin has returned to Korea but wouldn't come to work, claiming he has some other work to attend. Yoon-jae overhears and realizes that Jimin is refusing to come because of her. She packs up her stuff to leave the cafe. She can't let go of Jimin's photo, so she decides to keep it. When she takes out the photo, she sees a photo of her under Jimin's. Yoon-jae hands her resignation letter to Pyeon, but Pyeon refused to accept it. He encouraged her to give it to Jimin in person. So Yoon-jae goes to his house in the middle of the night and leaves the resignation letter under his door. Jimin watches her hurtfully as she leaves. Yoon-jae sees the book she had left in her bicycle basket. She flips through the pages and hurries back to the cafe. When she gets there, she finds Jimin waiting for her. He asks her if she still feels uncomfortable to see him. She gives him a warm smile, so Jimin pulls her for a hug. Apparently, Jimin has made a book, just as the one she had. The pages of the book turns, and we see Jimin has pasted the photo he took while she was drunk with the note, "Yes, I'm in love." With that, the movie ends. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed it, and see you next time.